You are 19 years old. You are sitting in your car outside the precinct, engine off, watching officers walk in and out through the front door. You've been sitting here for 20 minutes. You don't go in yet because once you go in, something starts that you can't undo. Your uncle was a cop for 31 years. You grew up hearing his stories at the dinner table, the ones he chose to tell anyway, the ones that made the job sound like purpose, like you were the line between order and collapse, between the people who prayed and the people who couldn't protect themselves. He never said it was easy. He said it was worth it. You believe him. You have no reason not to. You get out of the car, straighten your jacket, and walk through that door. That decision is going to cost you things you don't have names for yet. The academy is the last time everything is clear. There are rules. There are right answers. There are tests with scores and instructors who tell you exactly what is expected. You are good at this. You've always been good at following structure, at understanding systems, at doing the work without needing to be told twice. Your instructors notice. You graduate near the top of your class. You have a partner from day one. Call him Marcus. He grew up 3 neighborhoods over from you, joined for the same reasons, has the same look in his eyes that you probably have in yours, the look of someone who still believes the job is what they said it was in orientation. You and Marcus become the kind of close that only happens when 2 people are thrown into high-pressure situations from the start. You read each other before the other speaks. You know when something's wrong before anything is visibly wrong. Your mother keeps a photo of you in uniform on the kitchen counter. Every time you visit, she points it out to people like you're not standing right there. You pretend to be embarrassed. You aren't.
You still think belonging to something greater than yourself is a privilege. You haven't learned yet what it asks in return. The first year on the street is nothing like the academy. There are no clean answers. There are situations that don't fit any of the frameworks they gave you. Calls where every option is wrong in a different way, where the best you can do is the least bad outcome, where you drive away knowing you helped no one and contained nothing. You write the report anyway. You use the right language. You file it where it goes. Your sergeant has been on the job for 19 years. He is not unkind, but he is very tired. The first time you bring him a concern, something you saw on a call that didn't sit right, a detail that felt off about how a situation was handled, he looks at you the way people look at someone who still thinks the manual applies to the real world. Write it up, he says. You write it up. Nothing happens. You start to understand that the job has 2 layers. The layer that exists on paper, procedures, accountability, the version they showed you in training, and the layer that actually runs things, unspoken rules, informal hierarchies, the understanding of what you raise and what you let go if you want to keep working in peace. Nobody teaches you the second layer. You absorb it by watching what happens to people who ignore it. Marcus is adjusting too, but differently. He's quieter about it, folds things in instead of asking questions. You don't know yet whether that's wisdom or something more worrying. 3 years in, you respond to a call that you don't fully tell your wife about when you get home.
Not because it was violent. You've had violent calls. You've learned to compartmentalize those with reasonable success. This one is different. This one is a house where something went very wrong for a long time, and no one called until it was too late. And when you walk through that door, the weight of everything that should have been different sits on your chest for the rest of the shift, and a few shifts after that. You eat dinner quietly. She asks how your day was. You say, fine. It's not a lie in any way you can explain. You stop sleeping well. Not dramatically, not nightmares, not the version they show in movies. Just a low-level restlessness that never fully goes away. A background noise in your nervous system that hums even when everything is technically fine. You chalk it up to schedule changes, rotating shifts, the coffee. The calls accumulate in a drawer in your mind that you keep locked. This is standard. This is what all the experienced officers do. You can see it in how they talk about calls with clinical shorthand, the practiced detachment in their voices. You start doing the same. It's protective. It's also a slow drift away from something, though you can't name what. Marcus mentions it once. You went somewhere else for a second, he says after a call. You tell him you're fine. He doesn't push. You both understand that some things stay between you and the locked drawer. 5 years in, you see something you were not supposed to see. It involves someone above you in the chain. It is not ambiguous. You understand immediately what you are looking at, what it means, and what reporting it would require.
You go home that night and sit at your kitchen table for a long time with the lights off. You report it.
What follows is not what the manual describes. There is no clean investigation, no clear process, no moment where the institution rises to meet the standard it claims to hold. There is instead a long, grinding period of feeling invisible in a room full of people who used to acknowledge you, assignments that change without explanation, a supervisor who speaks to you in a tone that was not there before. Nothing you can point to directly, everything you can feel without being able to prove. Marcus stands by you. Without announcement, without drama, he just keeps showing up, keeps treating you the same way, keeps having your back on calls. You don't say much about what it means to you. He doesn't ask you to. You are beginning to understand why experienced officers don't report things. Not because they are corrupt, because the system responds to honesty the way a body responds to a foreign object. It encapsulates it, isolates it, neutralizes it. The institution protects itself. You are not the institution. You are a piece inside it, useful until you become friction. 8 years in, you have some authority. Not much, enough to shape how a few younger officers approach the job. You watch them come in with the same look you had at 19, the same belief in the gap between what is right and what happens, the belief that the gap can be closed if you work hard enough and do things by the book. You don't tell them they're wrong, but you don't tell them they're right either. You send a young officer alone on a call that you had a bad feeling about. There was no objective reason to send backup. By every metric, the call was routine. But you had a feeling, and you overrode it because overriding feelings is what the job trains you to do. He comes back fine. Nothing happened.
But you sit in your car afterward for longer than you need to, and you think about what you would have written in a report if something had happened. You think about the mother. You think about Marcus. You realize you have started thinking about every officer under you in terms of the call that could go wrong. You write everyone's emergency contact in a notebook you keep in your desk. Nobody knows you do this. It is the most honest thing about you. The loneliness is not what you expected. You are surrounded by people constantly. There is always noise, always activity, always someone who needs something from you. But there is almost no one you can speak to with full honesty, because full honesty requires trust, and trust has been sanded down by years of watching what happens to people who extend it in the wrong direction. Marcus is still that person, the only one. You are 41 years old. You are sitting in your car outside the precinct, engine off. You've been on the job for 22 years, and your retirement paperwork is on your desk inside. You have been looking at it for 3 weeks without signing. Not because you don't want to leave, because you don't know who you are when you leave. The job took things from you gradually, in ways you didn't notice until the accounting came due. It took the clean certainty that doing the right thing produces the right outcome. It took the idea that institutions protect the people inside them who act with integrity. It took some portion of your ability to be fully present in a room without scanning it. It took sleep in the clean, uninterrupted way you slept before the drawer in your mind got heavy.
What the job gave you is harder to name. Not the obvious things. Not the career, not the badge, not the pension. Something underneath that. The specific knowledge that you showed up on the worst days of strangers' lives and you did not look away. That matters in ways you can't explain to people who weren't there. The dark side of being a cop is not the danger. Everyone knows about the danger going in. The dark side is the slow erosion of your ability to trust. Not criminals, not strangers, but the people standing beside you in the same uniform, sitting above you in the same building. The creeping understanding that the institution you serve does not serve you back in equal measure. That loyalty is expected from you, but not guaranteed in return. The dark side is that you did everything right. You reported what needed to be reported. You showed up. You protected people who couldn't protect themselves. And the system still treated you like a resource to be managed, rather than a person to be valued. You pick up the retirement form. If a 19-year-old kid asked you right now, sitting in a car outside a precinct, engine off, deciding whether to walk through that door, if he asked you whether it's worth it, what would you say? You wouldn't say no. You'd be lying. You wouldn't say yes without telling him the rest. That would be worse. You'd say,
Go in. Because someone has to. Because the people on those calls need someone who actually shows up. But know the real cost before you start paying it. The cost isn't what you think it is at 19. The cost is trust. The cost is sleep. The cost is the version of yourself that still believed the gap between right and what happens could always be closed. Nobody is going to tell you that at orientation. You sign the form.
Not defeat, not relief exactly. The gesture of a man who gave what he had to give to something that asked for more than it returned, and is now trying to figure out what he is outside of it. The light in your office goes off for the last time. And somewhere across the city, right now, a 19-year-old is sitting in a car outside a precinct with the engine off. He's been there for 20 minutes. He has a look in his eyes that you remember from the inside. He doesn't know yet what the job will ask of him. He's about to find out. The door opens. The journey begins again.